Path to Bronze Leader. So the call is being recorded now. And so when we think about the Path to Bronze Leader, we spent some time in the last module on goal setting. And it's really important to understand these concepts that I'm going to cover here quickly. I'm not going to cover everything that's on this agenda tonight because we're going to move into planning. But I am going to highlight the 2028 compensation plan and its benefits to you and how you can get to the next level of your leadership title. And throughout these calls, we always talk about how you can lead your new team members. And, as you think about planning, I think you have to think about planning and going into 2018. So there are a couple of documents pictured here on the right-hand side of the screen. One is the Path to Bronze Leader worksheet. And each one of you received this when we talked about the goal setting module. So hopefully you still have it. We'll talk about it a little bit. I want to talk to each one of you individually a little more about it. But that's one document that you'll want to understand how to work through for you personally as it relates to maybe your goal to get to Bronze Leader. And then after you do it, it's going to make it easier for you to share with members of your team. And then the other document is the 2018 compensation plan. And, clearly, if you don't understand the compensation plan, it's hard to grow your earnings. And you have to understand the compensation plan in order to explain it to others. So these are two critical documents, and it's going to take a couple of times with you using them and presenting them for you to get truly confident and proficient at being able to share this with the members of your team. So as we go into 2018, Avon is kicking off a new compensation plan. And I know you've heard about this before, and I want to just kind of reiterate. Now, because the way it's being presented to you tonight is really just for you as a leader. So we're not covering a lot of the other stuff that's inside of the compensation plan, but we're thinking about it in terms of, okay, let's think about it from a leadership representative. Now, you as a leader or individuals on your team who have decided to go into leadership and build a team and they have a desire to mentor and help other people, every time they bring in a qualified recruit, and when we say a qualified recruit, this is a representative who places a $150 order in their first or second campaign, and they pay for it on time. Now, as a leadership representative with Avon, each and every time that happens, you will receive a $20 bonus. Okay? The other item that you receive as a leadership representative, and this is new, is that there is also another qualified recruit bonus. And what that says is that you're going to receive 3% on all of the new representatives that you sponsor. So say you bring in 5 new representatives, and all of them are qualified representatives. They all place a $150 order. You get $20 for each one of them. You just made $1,000 because you brought 10 people or 5 people in and you helped them. Because 5 times $20 is excuse me, is 100. If it's 10 people, it's 1,000. And for each one of those people, every order that they put in, you begin to earn a 3% annuity on all of their sales, on everybody that you sponsor after that first order. So that's a little different from what it was in the past. So you have a greater incentive to really help them to build their business, teach them how to sell, teach them how to, build a $500 order. The bigger that you can help them build their business, the more you're going to earn, because you're going to earn 3% on that representative's orders from that second campaign on through infinity. Okay? So that's one thing I want you to be aware of and be understanding. The second piece is promotion and mentoring bonuses. Now, each one of you may be at a different level in terms of your leadership. You may be a bronze ambassador, silver ambassador, gold ambassador. You may have slipped to a promoter. You might be a bronze leader. Wherever you are, if you've never achieved that bonus level or leadership level before, once you hit that leadership level, you'll earn a promotion bonus. For example, if you have never been a bronze leader or a bronze ambassador and you become a bronze ambassador, the first time you will get a $500 bonus. You're also eligible for mentoring bonuses as you mentor other people. And your promotional bonus is paid over 4 campaigns. So the expectation is that you'll maintain that level of performance for 4 campaigns, and that's when that bonus is paid to you. Now, you receive the mentoring bonus when the promotional bonus is paid in full. Okay? So those are other bonuses. And so as you go up the ladder of your leadership, I mean, you could earn a promotion of $20,000. So from $500 to $20,000 are where your promotional bonuses might lie, or your mentoring bonuses from $250 to $10,000. Now, Avon now has a new simplified way to calculate your leadership commission. Now, it was very complicated, which is what you see here. Now it's all changed because you're now doing a one discount amount of 30%. So let's say your team sales is, so here's a new equation. So let's say your team sales is $8,000. And I think $8,000 really equates to someone being a bronze ambassador. So say they've got $8,000 in team sales. So what they're going to do is $8,000 times 70%, and then they're going to multiply that times their level of earnings. So if you look at a bronze ambassador, or if you happen to have that compensation grid sheet in front of you, what that says is that if you're a bronze ambassador and you are doing that's a bronze leader. Let's say that you're a bronze leader and your team is doing $8,000 in sales. Then it's going to be $8,000 times 70% times your earnings level is 6.5%. And that's for your first generation. And that's how you calculate your commission off of your team sales. Okay? So here's the grid. The other thing you'll see is that as a bronze leader, you're going to earn, your requirement is you're going to do $200 in personal sales. You have to have 10 first generation orders. You have $8,000 in team sales. And they remove the requirement for having a G1 leader. The recruiting bonus we talked about at $20. The sponsoring bonus is 3% of all the new people you bring in. And then here's your promotional bonus of $1,500 and $750. First generation 6.5, 3%, 2%, and 1%. So if you have people in 4 generations, you're looking at 6, 9, 11, 13, 13.5% is possible to earn off of all of those people on your team. I'm going to pause here. Any questions? Does everybody kind of understand that as a bronze leader?
I have a question.
Sure.
This is Jennifer. So it doesn't matter the percentage that your recruits are earning?
No. No. You're earning based upon your team sales. So,
right.
For example, if you're a bronze ambassador and your team sales are 1,000, and that includes your 200. So you got $200 in personal sales. You got 3 first-generation orders, and between those 3 first-generation orders and your team sales is $1,000. So Avon is going to pay you a leadership check of $1,000 times 70% times 3% of those in the first generation and 3% in the second generation.
See, before like if I had somebody that didn't sell much and they earned 20%, then you would earn off of 80%. But if I had a President's Club member that made 40%, then your percentage would be based on the 60%. Yeah. So they're not doing any of that anymore.
No, and that's kind of on the slide you see now. It was extremely complicated to figure it all out. I'm surprised you even knew it. But it was extremely complicated. So now it's just based upon your overall team sales. And so you got to take your team sales, whatever it is, and your team sales includes your piece too. So your order goes as a part of the team sales, and that's why they have you multiply it times 70%.
Okay, so I guess my question is then, if I have 3 levels and I have different percentages for each of those levels, like you're showing right here on Bronze Leader, then where you said that our sales count in that too, where do we put it? In first generation, second generation, third generation?
Okay, so your sales and contribute to the total of the 8,000. And then when you look at that 8,000, you're going to have however many people, say 6,000 of that is first generation.
Right.
So, and you're going to fall within that first generation group, and you're going to multiply that times 70%, and then you're going to use the rate of 6.5. Total all the people in your second generation, and you're going to multiply that times 70%, and it's going to be at 3%.
Okay.
On down the road.
Okay.
So let's look at an example here. So say you're a silver ambassador, and let's just see the impact it will make on your business to go from a silver ambassador to a bronze leader. And again, a bronze leader is someone who has 10 first generation orders. You as the leader are putting in a $200 order, and your team sales are 8,000. That's all you have to do. So you're currently a silver ambassador, and in this instance, you're at 200 in personal sales, 6 first generation orders, and $2,000 in team sales. Okay, so when you look at that, you're a silver ambassador. You have $200, 6 first generation orders, $2,000 in sales. You're going to get commission of 4.1 on your first generation. Now, let's see what happens to the calculations. 2,000 times 70% is $1,400. $1,400 times 4% is $56 per campaign. And $56 per campaign is going to give you $112 a month. Now, let's say you take your business and you're going to a bronze leader. Same math. Your personal sales is 200. You have 10 first generation orders. You have $8,000 in team sales. You have there's no other structure. You have your commission on your first generation is 6.5%. So you go from $56 per campaign to $364 a campaign, or you go from $112 a month to $728 a month. So I'll pause and let you kind of look at this. That's how the math works.
Yeah, but that's saying that everybody was in your first generation, correct?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So the impact of going to Bronze Leader is really $112 a month to $728 a month. So that's kind of the way you look at it. And at Bronze Leader, you're starting to make more significant money and more significant earnings with your leadership business. And just keep in mind, this is just your leadership business. It has nothing to do with, your sales. And oh, by the way, this calculation doesn't include any bonuses. It doesn't include any recruiting bonuses or any promotional bonuses or anything. It's just pure calculating your annuity or residual revenue or earnings that you're making from the team. Okay? So to get to the next
And this starts when? Campaign 5?
You almost have to say it starts now because in terms of the payoff, I think it's campaign 6, was it 8 of let me look at it at the bottom. I think it starts in campaign, I think it's campaign 6. But once you hit that level, then this is how your payoff is going to be. So, yeah. So if you go to a Bronze Leader, and this gets into the bonuses, if you're going to make that $728 a month, if you were a Silver Ambassador and you went to a Gold Ambassador, you got a $1,000 bonus if you've never been a Gold Ambassador before. If you go from a Gold Ambassador to a Bronze Leader, you're getting $1,500. And a first-time achiever, what would you do with a $2,500 bonus? And how could this new income help you and your family? So in addition to that monthly residual, you have to add in your bonus opportunities. And again, as I said here, this doesn't include any other recruiting bonuses that you might have. So when I sent to you the document that allowed you to kind of fill in your goal, so if your goal is Bronze Leader, then you're going to start with, I have a sales requirement of $8,000. And my total unit sales today may be 3,199. So I need 4,881 or 4,801 in order to hit my target. So if you take that number and plug it down, that $4,801 needed for Bronze Leader, and you've done your analysis, you know that your average order is $237. So in order to get to that 4,800, you really need 20 more additional orders. Okay? Or you got to get the people that you have ordering to order more. Now, if you take those 20 additional orders, and you all also know that your team activity is 65.8%, then those 20 orders time your team activity will also say, well, I need additional 13 team members to achieve my goal. 13 new people on my team, and I can achieve my goal. And if those 13 additional people plus 20 additional orders, then that's going to give you 33 new team members to get there. So that's how the math works on that form that I gave you. And it's going to vary depending on if you're trying to get to a Silver Ambassador, a Bronze Leader, a Gold Leader, a Silver Leader, whatever your goal is. So, but this is where you begin to try to understand, okay, here's what I need. And then you're going to start to think about, okay, what's my outreach? What are the things am I going to do to make it happen? So I'm going to pause there and I'm going to switch over to planning. And while I do that, I just want to see if you have any questions, any thoughts. Is that kind of what you came up with when you worked through the form in the past, or how'd that go? Any thoughts? Is it achievable? Is it just, what do you think about it?
Well, it has to soak in a little bit, just, to do I've never done it the numbers like this before,
Uh-huh.
quite frankly, so.
Okay. Okay. And Jennifer, I know you asked a couple questions. What are you thinking? I know you said the calculation is different from before. It is very much simplified than it was before.
I thought
Yeah.
that we got paid up to the 5th generation.
Mm.
Is that changing?
No, you do. You do. And so up through that 5th generation, when you look at that grid, as you go, do you have the grid in front of you by chance?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll pull up well, I've gone from that, but I'll pull up my grid. If you look at, say you've got 5 generations, and at 5 generations, you might get at a bronze level or bronze executive leader, 5 generations. That first generation, instead of 6.5, is going to be 8%. The second generation is 3. Third generation is 2. The fourth generation is 1.5. And the fifth generation is 0.5. All right. Now, the way you're going to get to, 3, 4, and 5 generations is that you're building your team or you're building leaders. That's a quicker way to get to it, right?
Right.
Versus you trying to, build to 5 generations deep. The way you're building 5 generations deep is that your team is growing and you're building bronze leaders inside of your team and silver leaders inside of your team. And that's how you're going to get to that 5 generation. But yes, you would just do the math just as we've done before, but you're going to do it on each level of generation.
Okay, I understand that part.
Yep. Jennifer, you were going to comment?
I was just going to say, for those that have one generation, it's going to be very simple math. But for those that have multiple generations, it's still going to be somewhat complicated. So we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it will be, but that would probably be a good problem to have 5 generations deep. The nice thing is that you're inside a Vibe where you have your map and you can see your generations, and also inside a Vibe on your earnings report, it shows your first generation, second generation, third. It breaks it down for you so that you can easily see it, calculate it, and check it. So I wanted to take the first 30 minutes and kind of review that, and we can review it again because I'm just telling you, every time I see it, I'm like, okay, I learned something different or I understand it better. So I'm going to keep putting that in front of you. So this module, in terms of the coach approach, is really about planning. And inside of this, we're going to talk about, it's the O in BOSS, and that's about outreach. And it's all about planning to grow your team, planning your Avon time, planning the right balance of activities that you're going to do, and to prioritize and gain control of your business. And then, of course, plan to take action. And take a look at a 2-week calendar. I like to say take a look at a month's calendar. And I love it that you guys have an opportunity to get into this module at this time of the year because, hey, everybody realizes it's the holiday. There's a lot going on. But this is the time of the year when you're buying a new calendar. You're thinking about the new year. You're trying to get your mind and your head around, what are your goals going to be? And so because of that, I think this is the perfect time to do this. Now, I wanted to start with this. Hopefully, you guys have a pen and paper in front of you. And I want you to answer these questions because this is like part 1 of 3 parts of something that I've used in the past called taming time. So if you've got a pen in front of you, I want you to answer these questions. Do you have a daily schedule that you carry with you? Yes or no?
Not currently.
Now wait for a minute. Just let me know when you get a pen and paper in front of you. Just say yes, I got it, and I'll get going.
Okay.
Yes, I've got it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have a daily schedule that you carry with you? Yes or no? Do you have a GPS or a navigation in your car or on your phone? Do you reconfirm appointments beforehand? Do you try to return phone calls within 24 hours? Do you have a regular place in your home for your keys? This is a funny one. Do you keep a pen and paper handy? Do you have a filing system to help you organize your Avon business? Do you take reading materials with you when you are in the car or waiting to see the doctor? And the last question is, do you have a paper planner that you use? So how many of you have 9 yes answers?
This is Michaela. I do.
Yay! Awesome.
Well, except that you said a place, a regular place, and then you said in your home for your keys. My keys stay in the vehicle, so technically that's a no.
Okay, well, but
If it's in the home, but you know.
Right. But the point is, do you know where they are at all
So
times?
yeah, they're in the ignition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, Brenda, Jennifer, how'd you do?
I have 7.
Okay. Awesome. Jennifer?
I have 6.
6.
6.
Okay. Well, I mean, 5 or more is great. So, Michaela she's just an overachiever here tonight. And which is awesome.
No, not really, because I'm unpacking groceries as I'm listening, and I've taken you outside to the goat pens and everything. So,
well, that tells us also that you're a multitasker, which we all tend to be. But the point is in this, and I think you can use it with your teams, is that so often there are little things that we could do to give us more time back in the course of our day. And all of these things center around organizational kinds of things. And then there's another version of this that gets into, how you use your time and what things you could do. But all of these things listed here are things that could help save you time, because research has shown is that sometimes people, spend more time than they need to getting from place to place. So a GPS or navigation system might help. People who have kind of a daily schedule kind of have control of their life. They know what they want to get accomplished in that day. And at the end of the day, they're going to look at it and see and check things off. So it's almost like that to-do list. So often some people don't reconfirm appointments. So they get there and the person's not there, or they're late, or whatever the case may be, and they lose valuable time. And when you don't put off returning phone calls, that sometimes is a time waster as well. And believe it or not, people spend a lot of time looking for their keys these days because they put them, they don't have a regular place for them. I love the one about taking reading materials with you. I have always got something in my purse, in my car. I always have something on me to read that is about my business, or if I'm reading a book that's self-developed, so that if I'm in a situation where I'm waiting for someone, I'm picking someone up, I'm taking someone to the doctor, whatever the case may be, I can use that time for self-development or do some other things that I need to do. So that's the reason why we ask a lot of these questions. So when we look at the O in BOSS and we think about outreach, the BOSS approach, the Avon BOSS approach basically says, plan your business like a boss. And you're going to think through, who do I need to know to achieve my goals? And what do I need to do to meet new people? It is to meet the people on your team, as many of you don't know the people on your teams. But you've got to start somewhere. And so you want to plan to grow your team. And so let's talk about how you can grow your team. There's either two ways you're going to grow your team. You can recruit new members to join Avon, or we can help some of our current representatives achieve their leadership title. So that's the two ways to grow your team. And so you can start discussing or think about how you can find people to join. And what are some of the best ways to find people to join Avon? So what do you think? What are some of the best ways? You guys have done this before.
This is Michaela. I've recruited in the past several years. I've recruited some of my customers.
Okay. Awesome.
Because they have a lot of Avon knowledge, makes for a really good start.
Right. And they already love Avon, to begin with. And they tend to represent, an awesome opportunity for you to grow your teams. Well, when you plan to connect with people, there are some prospecting activities that you can plan to make sure you're continuing to meet, new people. As Michael said, she's kind of reflected on her past success. She got new people from her customers. So if that works for you, repeat it. Pursue your top customers. Just as she said, they already value Avon product. Leverage your personal network, your family, your friends, the people that you know. Get involved in your community, the PTA, the schools, your hospitals. What kind of community events are you doing? Job fairs, festivals, etc. They're all in your local newspapers. What about fundraisers for nonprofit groups and sports teams and schools? And then what about just running regular Avon opportunity meetings so that people can see, the opportunity? So these are all kind of warm markets. And in addition to this, it's important to find opportunities, just to connect with new people. And just remember that every interaction is an opportunity to grow your team. Brenda talked about a fundraiser that she does every year with the Eye Institute, which allows her to interact with new people every year. But you have to be purposeful with these activities, and you have to plan for them. You have to, put them on your calendar. There are some other areas in terms of, there's an app called Nextdoor, which is a neighborhood app where you can meet people and share with people in your neighborhood that you're an Avon representative. Obviously, we've passed the time for garage sales, but those are always great opportunities to meet people and share your books and Facebook. And then it's really just simply referrals, as you're reaching out to the people on your team and reconnecting with them and, discovering what their reason for having an Avon business is. That's always an opportunity for you to ask one simple question, that says, hey, I'm looking to build my business. Do you know someone else that might want to take a look at my online store or take a look at my brochure? Or might be interested in hearing about the earnings opportunity with Avon. And so you might want to think about what representatives are your next leaders. As you look at your team, maybe you have a next leader on your team. Maybe you don't. You know, potential leaders are very motivated and they can sell. You know, to the point earlier, if they can sell, they have to be pretty knowledgeable of Avon products, have a passion for Avon, love the product. And so it's a combination of these two, this motivation and sales success, that really make for a successful leader. You know, they want to have high motivation and high sales success. And I've talked to many of you who've said, oh, I've recruited people in the past and I knew they weren't going to work out. You know, it was not a recipe for success. You kind of knew going into it, you know, this person's not going to make it. So think about motivation. Think about within your team, who on your team believes in Avon? Who on your team wants to grow her team? Who is driven? Who's coachable? Who participates? Who has a positive attitude? And who wants to help other people? I mean, think about someone on your team with high motivation. What name or what picture comes to your mind? And then you look at your team and you say, okay, who on my team has sales success? You know, they're growing their sales. They consistently place an order. They pay for their orders on time. You know, they have quite a few customers. They want to get more. And they leverage the Avon tool. They understand your Avon.com, or they're using, you know, Avon University to grow their skills and their competence. Can you guys think of anything else that makes for a good potential leader?
This is Michaela. Some of my, back when they were called unit leaders, some of my very good leaders were who I connected with personally very well. Not people that I knew ahead of time, but since you're going to be co-working, makes it a lot easier when the two of you.
I'm sorry, someone's got a dog barking. Can they?
Yeah, I'm gonna shut my door and everything, so.
Thanks. Okay, Michael.
Some of the best unit leaders that I have had have been people who just seem like them and I really communicate well together, like we understand each other really well. You know, somebody that I can talk to over the phone that will understand things, because sometimes people aren't real good about understanding instruction over the phone. So really good communication skills and having a, you know, a compatible personality really helps.
Okay. Communication skills are big. You know, I often tell people, you know, if you know someone who's been in customer service or, you know, on the phone, I mean, those people typically are going to be good, you know, at Avon because they've learned some valuable transferable skills. So
people that know time management, that's a big one.
Yep, absolutely. And so, you know, as we talk about time management, you really have to think about, you know, planning your Avon time. You know, and some things you're going to want to consider is how much time is required to achieve your goals. And that's why we did goal setting. You know, if you have a goal, then you can take a look at that goal, excuse me, and decide, okay, how much time am I going to need to really achieve my goal? And if I'm not willing to put the time into it to achieve the goal, then I might have to readjust something, either the goal or the time I'm going to allocate. How much time do you have available given all of your other responsibilities? You know, because sometimes, you know, we say, okay, I'm going to do this, but there's 24 hours in the day. You got to sleep a portion of that. You got to eat a portion of that. And you just want to make sure that you've got the time that you need. And so the big question is, well, how much time will you dedicate to your Avon business? And that's the $1,000,000 question that you have to answer before you can really start to plan your calendar. And there may be some things inside of your time that, are non-negotiable from an Avon standpoint. You might say, okay, how much time do I spend to put in my own personal order? Because that time I've got to spend. And maybe you've got it down where you can put your order in 30 minutes. Maybe it takes you an hour. Whatever the case may be, that's part of the total time that you're going to use to dedicate, to your business. Some people like to get up early in the morning while the house is quiet. And during that time, they took a look at their Vibe. They look at their alerts on Vibe. They may post on Facebook. And so that may be the time, before the day gets started and the house gets busy and the kids gets up, or before they have to go to a doctor's appointment or do whatever else they're going to do, they find some quiet time. Maybe it's early in the morning. For some people, it might be in the evening. Some of you work outside the home. You may have a full-time job. You may have a part-time job. Sometimes you may vary your Avon hours month to month. Obviously with the holidays, there's going to be days that you're going to kind of wind down and you're going to enjoy family and you're going to enjoy the holiday. But at the end of the day, you do have to think about, what are my goals and how much time am I going to dedicate to Avon? And so you really have to look at the right balance and make the best or the most of your Avon time. So, what's the right time? You've got time that you're going to have to spend on your team, getting to know your team, reaching out to your team, maybe planning a webinar or a team function or talking about sales with your team. And maybe you've got some time that you've got to allocate to your own personal selling and planning and managing. So it's not just your selling time. You really have to take time to just plan. You may say, okay, once a week I'm going to take an hour to plan what my next week's going to be like. Whether it's Sunday night, I'm going to take an hour to plan my whole week, Monday through Friday, or I'm going to do it on Friday and plan. But you have to take time for planning, and then you have to take time for managing, and those are personal times. Your planning might include setting goals, creating strategies, prioritizing. That may be your activity planning, your meeting planning, some event planning. And then your personal time is about selling. Your product focus on selling, your opportunity focus on selling. Maybe you're attending an event. Maybe you're conducting a fundraiser. But think about your personal selling time. You're managing. You got some new reps on your team. How you're going to reach out to them, say, welcome to Avon, tell them or talk to them about Fast Start. See if they've done the training on placing orders, the training that's on Avon University. And then, hey, you may have to respond to some customer complaints. Maybe you have some returns. But your personal time is really comprised of planning, selling, and managing. And then your team is really all about leading. What are those coaching conversations you're going to have? How are you going to model success for your team? How will you share with them, the new compensation plan, or make sure they understand the new compensation plan? What kind of training can you conduct for them? Who have you reached out to talk about double dollars for Campaign 26? Someone that's close to achieving President's Club. Maybe you're sharing best practices. Maybe you've done the 50-50 in Campaign 26 to really drive sales and get the double dollars. So all that's under leading your team. And so if you say, I'm going to spend 20 hours a week in my Avon business or 10 hours a week in my Avon business, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure as a leadership representative that you're allocating some of that 10 hours or 20 hours to not only your personal business needs, but also your team needs. And so you're going to want to break down those activities into tasks whenever possible. And smaller tasks are more actionable and they're much less intimidating. Okay? So to the right here, you see some examples of tasks. Once you understand how to balance your activities, then it's important to actually plan, what you're going to do. So you're going to write down all your planned activities. And you're going to prioritize and reflect on your activities and break them down into tasks whenever possible. And the more specific you are, the better. Smaller tasks are more actionable and less intimidating. And on this side, you see some of those tasks go, okay, I'm going to plan a fundraiser for the Girl Scout troop. Or I'm going to plan for the upcoming quarter, which says I'm going to look at 3 months, not just the week or the day or the month. I'm going to look at 3 months. Maybe you need to follow up on your no orders. Maybe you need to reorganize your files. Maybe you're going to plan a Avon opportunity meeting. Just as we said earlier, somebody's got a complaint about their order, and maybe it was the mascara, whatever the case may be. Maybe you want to host a team meeting, or you want to do some kind of product training. You've got your own order you have to place. So as you look at this list, there's a lot of tasks, and they all fit in these categories of selling, planning, managing, and leading a team. And so it's really important to think through all of this as you start to plan your calendar. For example, you may say, well, I'm going to participate in a holiday bazaar. And some of the tasks that may be involved in participating in that holiday bazaar is that you might have to send something to the person that's coordinating it. You might need to get some extra product or brochures or catalogs together for the bazaar. You might want to plan what you're going to wear to that bazaar. Maybe you've got a raffle that you're going to offer. Think about what kind of products you want to show and promote. So there are a lot of manageable tasks inside of these activities. And then as you start to look at these activities, it's very easy for us to put down a whole bunch of stuff on our to-do list. But we start to look at our to-do list and we start to do the things that maybe are the easiest rather than looking at things as being important, less important, urgent, or not urgent. So, as you start to look at your to-do list, you're going to want to, really decide the level of urgency that they are and how much you need to put your focus on. Or maybe it's something that you could delegate, to someone else. Maybe you're having a team meeting and you're like, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to talk about this skincare, I've got to talk about fragrance, I'm going to talk about jewelry, oh gosh, and now I've got to talk about Aspera. Well, that can be just mind-boggling to think that you're going to highlight all of those things, but rather than you trying to do that, in your conversations with your team, find out who on your team loves makeup. Find out who on your team loves to talk about skincare, because that's how you're going to engage them in the process. You talk to someone and they say, oh gosh, I really love skincare. Well, would you mind coming to the team meeting? And I'd like to give you about 15 minutes to really talk about skincare and share how you're able to be so successful selling skincare. Or vice versa, you have someone that's in health and fitness and they like to eat healthy. Hey, would you mind, come to the meeting prepared to talk a little bit about Aspera and what you found and what you've learned about Aspera. And maybe you've got somebody that loves to sell jewelry or fragrance. So don't feel like you have to be the expert on everything, but rather delegate some things. You may even have someone on your team who is just a whiz at the computer. loves to do newsletters, loves to do publisher. You might say, hey, how about working with me to put together a newsletter to go out to everyone? You would be surprised at the skills and the capabilities of many of the people that are on your team. But because you haven't asked what they like to do, what they're skilled at, what gives them satisfaction, you haven't been able to engage them and to delegate things to them. And as they become proficient at that, just know that they'll start to duplicate those things to others on their team as well. So set yourself up for success. And when you're talking about setting yourself up for success, you're really going to limit those distractions, by creating and managing your boundaries. It's so important to focus on the more important and urgent tasks that need to be done. And, set appropriate expectations when you're out of the office. You know what your campaign is over a 2-week period. If you're going on vacation or it's the holiday, set the expectations for the people on your team in terms of when you're going to get back with them, or if you're going to be doing other things, the same as you do with your customers. Consider establishing dedicated leader hours. As you start to engage back with your team, you may say, hey, I am available to answer any questions that you like on, Monday mornings. Maybe that's your office day. Or maybe it's Monday evening from 6 to 8. Or maybe it's Friday. But think about your leader hours so that when you're out and about or when you're talking to someone on the phone, you can tell them, hey, I'm happy to help you anytime I can. If you want to give me a call or send me a text, these are the days that I have set aside as leader hours, or the one day a week, where I'd like to help, or one day a campaign. Find a dedicated space. You may have space at home. I talked to a leadership rep today. She's looking at finding a space where she could have training meetings with her team. So I know so many of you use restaurants, coffee shops, but find a space that works for you, that allows you to get away from, many times the house, that causes you to get dressed, get prepared, and leave the house, whether it's at a library, a hotel lobby, a restaurant. Find a space that works for you, that speaks to you and says, during this time that I'm in this space, I'm focused on my Avon business. For these next 2 hours, I am all about business. But after these 2 hours, my schedule says I'm doing something else, right? So as you look at your calendar, the action item for this module is for you to think about a 2-week calendar. And you might also look at that kind of like as a 2 weeks in a campaign. And think about the things that you're going to do in that 2 weeks for a campaign. And once you map out your 2-week calendar, you're just going to duplicate that every campaign. Every campaign, you're going to do it the same. And as you're reaching out and your team members are asking you about the schedule and what's going on, you're going to be able to let them know, well, here's my calendar and here's what I'm doing. Now, they're going to appreciate you so much more because they know that you're planning your business. You have certain days set aside to do certain things, okay? And that you're organized. So this is just kind of like a little example of some things that a person might have put in a 2-week calendar. And in this instance, they're focusing most of their business on Monday through Friday. They're not doing much on Saturday and Sunday. You may decide, okay, I'm going to dedicate a few hours on Saturday. I may do some planning on Sunday. You figure out what works for you, because it's all about that right balance of activities and a task to achieve your short-term and long-term goals. Think about, are you planning to be busy? Are you planning to be productive? Many of you talked about, I'm going to reach out to my team members. If you got 30 people on your team, how are you going to make sure that every 2 weeks you're touching base with all 30 of those people? If you calendarize it, put it on your calendar, and know this is how I'm going to do it, you're going to be more inclined to get it done. You're going to think about what are the tasks that you can delegate. Who on your team wants to do more? Who on your team needs to do more? Who on your team would love for you to ask them to do something because they're waiting for that opportunity to demonstrate their skill and their competency in a certain area? Now, did you mark off time for handling a cluster of tasks at one time? You know, maybe it's okay, I'm going to take this time to work my dashboard and do my action alerts that has my anniversaries, my birthdays, and I'm going to do that once in a 2-week period. Every 2 weeks I'm going to do that. And those are clusters of activities that you can do. And then, am I setting the proper boundaries to be effective? And of course, you're going to build into this your personal time. Maybe at 9 a.m. you've got a doctor's appointment. You got to go. Put it on your calendar. Maybe at 6 p.m. you guys are having a birthday celebration for someone in the family. Maybe you need to go to the gym, and we all need to put time in our schedule to either take a walk, go to the gym, jump on the exercise bike at home. Are you planning 30 minutes of your day to exercise your body, to clear your mind? How much time do you need to prepare dinner? So think about how you're organizing your time around your personal needs and your business needs by looking at the 2-week calendar. Now, your application guide that I sent to you really is a summary of everything that I've talked about. And while it does have a 2-week calendar in there that you can use, feel free to use that, or you may use the calendar that you are using. You know, hopefully you have a paper calendar that allows you to plug some things in, and you can use the paper calendar and also plug it into your, your cell phone if you're using Microsoft Outlook or Google Docs or whatever you may be doing. But take some time to plan a 2-week calendar for your Avon business and your personal life. And as you fine tune that, and as you roll into the new year, you're going to have a cadence that says, okay, this is how I'm going to make this work. I'm dedicating these 10 or 20 hours or however many 15 hours or whatever the hours are you decided. And here's how I'm going to spend it. And practice that with consistency for a 2-week period. And then evaluate it. Take a look at it and say, okay, how do I feel about my week? Was it productive? Did I get things done? What impact did I make on my business? And when we get to our collaboration call, and we'll talk about what you're planning in our one-on-one calls, but when we get to our collaboration call, I'm going to ask that you share an experience in your past when you got lost and explain how it made you feel and how you overcame it. And this is kind of a significant question because many times we get lost in our business and we feel very disorganized and just, it's like, okay, I can't get things done. It's always interesting to hear what people share when they think about this hot topic. So with that, it is 7:36, so we're a little bit over an hour. Keep in mind that a goal without a plan is just a wish. And I know all of you have goals. Whether you know it or not, you have a goal. Whether it's to grow your sales, whether it's to grow your team, whether it's to create more leaders on your team, you have your business goals, you have some personal goals. But a goal without a plan is just a wish. And that plan includes how you manage your time. So with that, I'm going to give you back some time tonight. If you've got questions about anything that I've covered, either on compensation, working toward Bronze Leader, or just how you're going to plan your business over the next couple of weeks, don't hesitate to let me know what's on your mind, and I will be reaching out to each one of you regarding your your one-on-ones to kind of share the work. And I'm going to look to do that, next week to give you more time to do some planning, do some real in-depth planning, and to really digest, the compensation and how you're going to map the two of those together. All right? You guys are quiet.
I know I didn't get on this call like right at 6:30, although I don't think I really missed anything because you must have been on here maybe late too. But did you already discuss like the other future meetings? Because I haven't changed anything except for, tonight's. I didn't know if that got discussed. I was thinking you said that we were going to discuss
No, I
days and
didn't. I didn't. We moved the seminar calls to a Tuesday night at 6:30 the last time, and that seemed to work well. We've got another holiday coming up, so these two modules are kind of touch and go. But typically that's kind of what I was looking at, is trying to do the seminar call on a Tuesday at 6:30. And that would be 2 weeks from today. And then following that, we'd have a larger break because during this next section, we're going to hit the Christmas, this next module will hit the Christmas holiday break. So we'd have another module on December the 12th.
Okay, so it's the 12th instead of the 11th.
Yes.
Okay, and see, the Mondays worked excellent for me, but now your Tuesdays are hitting, just so you know, now that they've been changed, because I didn't realize they were all changing. I thought we were just changing one. You're going to have a problem with me being on the calls, or I'll be on the call, won't be able to participate. Hopefully I'll be able to hear. It was really difficult to hear at the last basketball game, but just be forewarned, it's a problem for me, but, I will work through it.
Okay. All right. Well, and I will also record them as well. And if we find that there's a lot of conflicts on the 12th, I'm flexible. I'm going to work with you guys to try to get as many of you that are available at that time as possible. But I've not heard of any other conflicts at this point. So. And
the other conflict that I have is like on the 12th was actually when we were going to have a one-on-one call. And so I need to sometime talk to you personally about maybe changing those, because I'm not sure that that's...
Yeah, they will. All of the one-on-one calls will change, because some people had one-on-one calls scheduled for today, as you did, but because we had a seminar call, we didn't do those calls today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can mark the Tuesday one-on-ones off of my calendar too then, because we won't be doing them the same day that we're doing
the seminars. No, we will not. No, we will not.
That's the bad part about having a paper calendar and writing things in ink, just so you know.
That's I learned that a long time ago. I don't put anything in a paper calendar in ink. I use a pencil.
Amen.
I never have a pencil with me. I always have an ink pen, and if I don't write it in ink, it looks like it's not as important. So
I put everything in pencil.
I do too.
This is Jennifer. I just want to let you know that the 12th, I go to the dentist, so if I'm not very talkative, I probably can't feel my face.
I totally understand that, and hopefully it will go well for you. And I know people are trying to get appointments in before the end of the year and all that kind of stuff. So I hope all goes well with your appointment. And as I said, if there's enough people that come back on the 12th won't work, we'll move it to a time that does work, for as many as possible, because I know you all like to be on these calls live. I would prefer that everyone be live, but, I understand that that's not the case all the time. And people are listening to the recordings and, getting the application guides and are still doing their one-on-ones. So we'll do whatever works for you. Okay. All right. I know that Brenda has a team meeting scheduled on the 5th of December, so I'll be seeing her with her team on the 5th. If any of you are doing anything else with your team, either virtually or face-to-face, please let me know. I'd love to participate, or at minimum, would love to just chat with you about how you're planning that meeting, what kinds of things you want to accomplish, and maybe I can offer some suggestions or ideas to you.
And Dee, Michaela, one last question. So do we have a call on December 7th? Because for some reason I don't have it written on my calendar, but it's on the sheet that you sent out with our packets. It technically said Friday the 8th, I think, but do we have a call on Thursday the 7th at 8:30?
That would be the collaboration call that we moved from Friday at noon. So yes, the collaboration call would be Thursday evening.
December 7th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Great. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, ladies. And like I said, if you've got something planned, something that you're looking to do, work the numbers. Really spend some time on that grid on how you get paid. And like I said, I'll spend some time, going over it with you on your one-on-ones, and we'll go from there. But thank you for joining. Have a great evening.
Thanks.
You too.
Oh, one
Bye.
other thing. I think I sent you guys a text. Cheryl, the reason she's not on tonight is that she just had a new grandbaby. Her daughter had a baby this morning. It was a little early, but she just had a baby. So she'll be back with us next time, but she wanted me to let you guys know. So if you get a chance, you can send her an email or respond to the text and just tell her congratulations.